Hey, so this is the Geek Protagonist, and we got a comic book review for you. Like I tell people, if you're a little bit more jaded like me and many others about the current comic book scene on Marvel, DC, whatever, there's stuff out there. So we have Ronin Island, and I'm gonna try a new format. Tell me if you like it, where I'm gonna throw some imagery in there, but I will read the back passage to you. So Hana and Kenichi are too young to remember the Great Wind, a catastrophic event that devastated 19th century China, Korea, and Japan. They were raised in the aftermath on Ronin Island, where survivors found refuge in a place where differences were forgotten and a unified society was formed. But when the shogunate comes back to power demanding a return to the ways of the past, Hana and Kenichi must prepare to defend their home and all that it represents from the warlord's forces, and confront an even more deadly threat clawing out of the devastation of the Great Wind. Written by best-selling author Greg Pak. That's actually the reason why I even did this, which is Mech Cadet U. I gotta get that for my friend. Planet Hulk. Planet Hulk, World War Hulk is my stuff. That's my jam. You already know the first comic I reviewed on here. And beautifully illustrated by Giannis Migalonianis. I do apologize if I'm not saying that name correctly. Old City Blues and Profit. Ronin Island explores an idealistic coming of age story set against the backdrop of a morally gray time of war where the reasons for fighting are questioned at every turn. Collects issues 1 through 4. A powerful story that proves how engaging and entertaining a storyteller Greg Pak is. That's graphic policy. Milliganana's forceful artistic style supports Pak's writing skills, creating an exceptional comic. That's comic first. And IGN blends a historical Asian setting with a larger than life fantasy. This is from Boom Studios. I need to get the second one actually. Beautiful cover. It has that embroidered print, that feel of it. It has wording and things back there. Now, one of the awesome things about this is that you see some right off the bat as soon as you open it. You go from the Ronin Island. You see some interesting imagery. And what's really cool is that it opens up with Kenichi, and he's talking about how he can't be late. And it's kind of like a typical day in the life of the island, and it kind of opens up innocently enough. He has his samurai armor. It looks very like kind of normal, but then you start to see things like you'll see the island. You see her with her cat friend, where they show how his day is, and he's living in a nice house and all this stuff. And then you see Hana, who is kind of living on like not the streets per se, but definitely her life is not exactly peachy compared to his. But yet these both were very special children on the situations, and they have a thing to go through. Like he's wearing armor, she's wearing regular clothes. They're having a race, and they're talking about teaching, and it kind of reminds you a little bit of like Avatar, the anime thing. And they're like, okay, we got to get across the island area and stuff. If I don't remember to put the images up. And they're having their back and forth. They get their banter. So you can tell these two actually grew up together. And they're supposed to do the whole running and hitting the bell, right? And then by the end, immediately things change. So as you start to go through the story, you see that like there's Japanese warlords, or I should say, a guy who's in full armor. She's like, go ahead and shoot him, big man, and it's like a general, and they're having a conversation, and you start to see, what's happening, and there's a lot of back and forth, and there's a reason for it. As these people on the island have their like saying like strength stronger together or it's like strength together, and they keep talking about the samurai, but they're explaining like, look, you got to come with the shogun. And I do apologize, there will be some spoilers in here, but it's a very interesting take on why these kids are important, what's going on, and they're like the shogun. They're like, no, the shogun's gone, and how they kind of break through everything, and it's also really cool because it displays the racial barriers immediately. Like a lot of people don't realize a lot of the Asian countries do have some issues with each other simply because, like I said, when I was in Japan, definitely weren't the biggest fans of China, vice versa. And one of the cool things is, as you see these people doing this, you see that. And you come to realize there's a bigger situation than what you originally thought there was going on. They talk about, now that they fight, and then you find out what the Hannah and them were doing as each chapter starts to go through who these creatures are, what they are, how difficult it is to actually fight them. But in all of this, there is a lot of character development, and you also find out like how dangerous this fight really comes out to be. And I think Greg Pak really nailed it. The art, of course, is superb. But it was also cool because you could start cutting limbs and doing stuff. And it's very hard for these guys to go taken down. And yeah, you could kind of say, it feels like a zombie story. But what they do, it kind of reminds you a little bit of like Oni. To some degrees, and a little bit of those kind of like demon things that are in the Asian culture. So that was really, really interesting. How they have to handle it. They have to like scorch earth, the rivalry that's there, the trouble that goes on, and then when they finally do get the people from the island, what they have to deal with now that the shogunate is there, and how things change between the people from the island, where like Hannah and them, and how there is actually differences and variation of who they are and how it actually comes out. And also the fact that this thing that kind of makes these demons don't just affect people. And it's really cool because you also see that even the soldiers, they're not the most terrible people, like they're not great, but they're not bad, but they have to defend the island. And the general's like very, very cool, but these things are extremely dangerous, and how they actually made it to the island. And this island, people found peace in survival, and they kind of broke up that peace. So I thought that was very, very cool. And I like the fact that they also talk about together in strength. That's their saying, right? When they speak about who they are, what they are, why the general likes Hana, who likes, and basically as the story keeps progressing, it's really cool because it's like Greg Pak is unboxing stuff as he keeps going, and it's like, yo, okay, this is actually very interesting. You find out more about the world, and he's giving you these little breadcrumbs while the story's going on, and you're starting to find out like who the old woman is, and who the children are, and who these people are, and why they did what they did, and they thought they were away from, they were safe and away from the danger, yet the danger was right there. And now they have to like go, okay, what are we doing? And the islanders like, no, we're equals versus not, and what they have to do to get to the place. And then you start to finally see it, and they call it Bionin. See there? And I also like it where they explain that the Jew's like, no, These are regular old people killed by the great wind. So it's like this wind came through and just took out a bunch of people, and the world was being wiped out. But now it raised the question: is the rest of the world done? Is it only this part of the world? You see that people are getting infected. You see like the shogunate and how they're trying to fight stuff off and how they abandon, but how people will work together when they truly need that assistance. And the warriors from the island, which they kind of look down on them, is very interesting because just the situation, and also the back and forth between Hana and Kenichi, and how they really are kind of rivals to a degree, but yet Hana is a very skilled sword warrior, but Kenichi is also he has skills with a bow and arrow. And like how they were talking about the island, and she's talking about like the father, how they like now you're starting to find out more about Sato. General Sato is calling Kenichi's father a traitor, and you see the shogunate, and it's also very funny because the shogunate is like a spoiled, annoying person, and he really is, of course, as usual, the person who should not be leading these people because he's so self-indulgent, trying to be the old ways, and it's just like he appoints Kenichi, and it's just very, very interesting, like how people view each other and how in these survival situations is still not the best kind of situation. How he gets some new gear, and yet there's plans that are going on because the islanders really do believe in their ideals. They've lived together long enough, they've grown up together long enough, but then you also see there's other people coming on, and how they're talking about sword swings, and how you're seeing Korean people as Hana is Korean. And it's very interesting how you're seeing how people are treated in this society as soon as things get even remotely normal. It's interesting to see how these norms and things happen, especially with in like as you keep watching, you see who cares, who doesn't. You also start to learn in this particular one, which I won't show you this, where this great wind came from and how it's been spreading. And like I said, that part I won't show you because that's a spoiler, like too heavy of a spoiler, and I think it's really cool when you learn it for yourself. But very interesting story. And also too, another thing I really like, they do not hold back on people. If someone goes down, someone goes down. And it's also very funny because Hana and Kenichi have a tumultuous relationship, yet you do see that there's a kinship there. And there is a very awesome yet sad moment, but a very powerful moment in here that kind of establishes those two. But you also find out about where the general's head is at as well. And a lot of heavy decisions were put onto these kids about people that they may have ended up having to like take down, and it's like, wow. It's very, very cool because you see them try to hold on to the island, but it goes back and forth between, well, you turned on this and you turned. And it's like this kid rivalry, but it's really well done because their hearts are in the same place, but it's like the methods aren't. But now it's like, okay, well, what's going on? Where is the island? Where is this going to go? And once you get to the end, it leaves you wanting more. So when I got done reading it, I was like, man, I really want to read more. Like, what is there more? And I found out there's a part 2. But the cool part is the wind has a mystery, and there's a lot of establishment on this world, but it also tells you that the world's not gone, where it felt like they kind of assumed the world was gone. So I think they did a very good job. Here's some amazing cover art. And these two characters are really wholesale full characters, and I like that one is the swords person and the other one is the arrow. Like, I think the range is really cool, and I actually think that's all. Like, that's a great one. You got someone that covers range, someone that covers close combat, but you have these two that are extreme rivals, yet there's a kinship there, and also promotion for Mecha Cadet U. So yeah, I think Greg Pak has a hit here. If you like samurai, if you like Chinese films and Korean films about ancient times, like there's that Korean series that they had that I can't remember, that's on Netflix right now, and I can't remember the name. I think it's called Kingdom. I thought that was so cool to see. Like, I like seeing ancient times with zombies. Like, I like seeing westerns with zombies or like creatures, because it's very interesting because they can't just go, we're just going to blow them away. It's like, well, they have to figure out how to handle this now that they're limited to a blade or arrows or stuff. They don't have all of the artillery that we have available to us. And it's very interesting to see how that can work in those kind of desperate times and those kind of warriors. And this reminds me of that. And I would say that my rating on this one is definitely a should buy. I like that this touches on real world racial issues, but it touches on it in a way that doesn't feel like it's kicking it down your throat and telling you how bad you are while you're going through it, especially if you're a certain type of race, but more like a commentary on this is things you see. Like, there's a level of respect, but then there's a huge level of disrespect under that layer of respect. And I think they had a lot of big moments in the book. The whole wind and the Bionin, but there's a mystery to it because the Bionin isn't exactly what it is, but yet it is, kind of thing, like how it spread. And but at the same time, that great wind and the Bionin kill people. So what are these things that have been a result, or are they a result? I do know because the book tells you, but you need to find out for yourself. So if, like I said, if you like samurai survival horror, if you like a show like Kingdom or a couple of these older ones like that deal with monsters, stuff like with like Jubei and Ninja Scroll and things like that, it's not exactly Ninja Scroll, don't get me wrong. What I mean by that is if you like that kind of style of storytelling, I think Ronin Island was really a great story. I like the fact that it started from a humble beginning in the beginning, and by the end, it's turned into this very huge, deathly, like crazy situation. And you get to see how the islanders get along and how these people can do this versus what happens when people put their own ideals and things above everyone else. And the big thing about the island is, no, in all of this, we're together. It doesn't matter where we're from. That's just adding to the culture. But they had to do it through survival. And now it's like, okay, now it makes me wonder, is there more people in the world that survive? Do we survive this? Do we not? So there's a lot of cool things to it. So if you've read Ronin Island, tell me what you think. If not, like I said, my rating is this is a should buy. I'm going to get the second one. I haven't bought it yet, but I really like what I got from this. Geek Protagonist, you stay safe, you stay healthy, you stay real, and I'll see you.